I have shown pieces of it in previous videos, but here's my Audi Quattro on a TT02 chassis. I was planning to do a whole build series, but then I remembered how much work that would be. So let's just cut to the chase and go through all of the ways that I messed it up instead. And there's some juicy ones in there, so stick around for those. My previous experiences with RC kits have been limited to a couple of them from Axial, and while I really wanted that new SEX3, they're quite a bit out of my current budget. So when a local webshop attacked me with a series of discounts on a lot of Tamiya kits, I straight up bought one. And as I'm a child of the 80s, it had to be a proper rally kit. And for something that's four-wheel drive, there was only one logical choice, and that was the Audi Quattro. As for the quality of the kit itself, you'd be hard-pressed to complain when the price is about a fifth of what was quoted when I last looked at a SX3. Compared to the Axion kit, it feels like there's more a regular type of plastic going on. None of that flexible composite stuff. I couldn't tell you if any of it would ever stand up to a proper crash. Then again, my experiences are mostly with crawlers. At least my SX2 has never gone fast enough to even, call it a crash. Let's just call it a gentle falling over. My first blunder, though, came when I started assembling it. Mainly in my thinking that I wouldn't need any special screwdrivers because I already have those practically spilling out of the garage. Except these things aren't Phillips head screws. They're Japanese Industrial Standard, or JIS for short. They'll mostly fit, but it's really working at least twice as hard as you need to, which is why I actually bought one, or two, at some point later, and then discovered that the difference is practically night and day. And as someone who experiences a lot of muscle pain, just buy the damn things. They're so cheap I accidentally bought an MO6 kit along with them. Getting on with the actual build, I spent a whole lot of time just looking for screws and every bit of part. Mainly I had assumed that you wouldn't need to open all of the bags and look through them to find what you need at every step. The other was trying to measure everything in order to get things right, but it's all really there in the manual at the correct scale. Part of the reason is probably me trying to build things very late at night, and the manual is just incredibly dense with all of the languages stuck on one page. It all gets a bit overwhelming, at least until you learn how to read the manual, understand the technical language, so to speak. All very dry and not very exciting, so let's look at an exciting one. And what's the worst one that you shouldn't make? And that's overthinking the motor mount. And really, my brain skipped a step on that one. Just poke the screws through and be done with it. Which is what I did the first time. Then I did some overthinking and did it wrong. Definitely don't do that. There was smoke, there was fear, and the camera wasn't even rolling, because it was late at night and I just wanted to test it. When in doubt, if you can't move the shaft with your fingers, it's all too tight. Which brings me to another point, or rather problem. I'm going to play you the recording, but note that there's some podcast in the background, so please ignore that. I wasn't going to re-break something in order to get you a clean recording.
I don't want to use the word fan base, a community around this concept of releasing new games.
That doesn't sound right to me. Not really knowing what to expect from Tamiya, but I doubt that was it. But the problem was actually two mistakes that I did all the way back in step 25. Essentially, I swapped around two steering linkages. One side has a line on it, and it should be facing towards the left. And not like I did it. The second one becomes apparent once you see my spare parts bin. Guess I didn't get spares for those after all. And so the steering was barely touching the drive shaft and making a horrible racket. Took me a month to find out that one. Looking at the body, the only part that actually makes it an Audi Quattro, I had started off properly masking everything so that I could paint the grille black. It started fine, but none of it came out looking right. So I bought some Tamiya paint remover and a Porsche. Simply because I was that unhappy about it. Going back to the Quattro again, I knew I wasn't going to do a whole rally livery. So if I'm going to do a Audi Quattro that isn't rally livery, it sort of has to be the one everyone's seen. The red one shown earlier. And the thing about the Porsche, when I pushed on with that one as well, and spray painting things, the Porsche sort of went red. And my blue paint went on the Quattro. But I'm massively going on a tangent here, because the point I was supposed to make is that even when you're unhappy with the results, just keep pushing on. Because of all the Tamiya kits I've seen, and that's not very many, it seems that they've thought of all that. Even when going off the rails in terms of box art, you get enough decals to cover up most of your mistakes. And speaking of the box art, I shied away from it because I thought it would be harder, which it probably isn't, because I made it a lot harder for myself by forcing me to cut around a lot of the rally details. Oh, and while I was looking for a suitable glue for the tires, one tip that was suggested was to use rubber cement, allowing people like me who have no idea how to glue tires enough time to do it properly. Running that through the translation matrix, and what I ended up with was a rubber reinforced CA glue. These are not the same things. So basically don't glue a tire to your hand. And really, just getting to this point has been quite a journey. And I'm well aware that most of those problems I created for myself. At least now the car is actually going places. As for how it performs, I'm sure there are plenty of upgrades that are worth installing. In particular, getting rid of those pogo sticks that make up the suspension. But before trying to alter anything, I wanted to experience how it was like in stock form. At least before I try any of the potentially dodgy upgrades I bought from AliExpress. But all that at a later point in time. Anyway, those are my thoughts on completing my first Tamiya build. Would I do it again? I would. I already have. And there's probably another kit in the mail somewhere. Bye!